5. The Dharma-Self Svabhāva of the Sarvāstivāda School. Among the numerous schools of Hinayana Buddhism, the most prominent and distinct one is the Sarvāstivāda School, often abbreviated as Vaibhāṣika. This school emerged in northwestern India around 300 years after the Buddha's passing, roughly in the 1st century BC. They championed independent thinking, individual character, and freedom of thought, values highly esteemed within Buddhism. This emphasis on intellectual exploration led them to produce a vast body of philosophical treatises. They believed that simply accepting the Buddha's words wasn't enough. One had to thoroughly understand and internalize the teachings, resolving any intellectual knots. Only then could one truly inherit the Buddha's legacy. Rote memorization of scriptures was deemed insufficient. This school placed great emphasis on critical analysis and rigorous thinking, developing a complex and intricate system of scholastic philosophy. When Western scholars refer to Buddhist scholasticism, they often specifically mean the scholasticism of the Sarvāstivāda School. Their representative work, the Abhidharma-Mahavibhākavastra, was compiled between the 1st and 2nd century CE. However, the ideas it contains predate its compilation, representing a culmination of Sarvāstivāda thought. In this text, we find a clear distinction between two types of self: the person self, which is the subject of life, and the Dharma-Self, which is the essence or substance of the external world, of all phenomena. The Sarvāstivāda School firmly believed that the Buddha only taught the non-self of the person, the emptiness of the individual, but never denied the existence of a Dharma-Self. Let's look at Material 7. The Dharma-Self Svabhāva of the Sarvāstivāda School. Abhidharma-Mahavibhākavastra, Chapter 9, translated by Zhuangzang. There are two kinds of self, the Dharma-Self and the Pudgala self. Those who teach well speak only of the truly existent Dharma-Self, for the nature of dharmas truly exists. Seeing this as it is not considered wrong view. Externalists also speak of a truly existent Pudgala self, but the Pudgala does not truly exist. Seeing this as real is a delusion and therefore considered wrong view. Pudgala refers to the person. As you can see, the Sarvāstivāda School asserts the existence of the Dharma-Self, claiming that it's a correct view, a right view because it aligns with reality. To claim the existence of a person self, however, is considered a wrong view because there is no such thing. According to Sarvāstivāda theory, the external world exists, but not everything within it is real. Some things are illusory, false dharmas, while others are truly existent, true dharmas. How do we distinguish between them? This is where the criteria for judging the existence or non-existence of the external world come into play. The principle is based on the Dharma-Self. Just as the person self serves as the standard for judging the existence of a person, the Dharma-Self serves as the standard for judging the existence of dharmas. The Sarvāstivāda School explicitly articulates this standard, the Dharma-Self. Furthermore, they give the Dharma-Self another name, Svabhāva, the very term we're exploring today. Etymologically, Svabhāva can be understood as own being, as the meaning own, and bhava meaning being. However, bhava has multiple meanings, including attribute or nature, hence the translation self-nature. How should we understand Svabhāva? Etymology alone doesn't provide a definitive answer. We need to examine how the term is used. In Material 8, the Sarvāstivāda School explicitly states that the presence or absence of Svabhāva determines whether a dharma is truly existent. Material 8, also from the Abhidharma-Mahavibhākavastra, categorizes existence into 5 types. 1. Nominal existence, e.g. tortoise hair, rabbit horns, flower garlands in the sky. 2. True existence, all dharmas abiding in their own Svabhāva. 3. Conventional existence, e.g. pots, clothes, chariots, armies, forests, houses. 4. Composite existence, the Pudgala, conceived as a composite of the aggregates. 5. Relative existence, e.g., the length or shortness of this or that shore. The Abhidharma-Mahavibhāka further divides these 5 types into 2 main categories: true existence and conventional existence. Here, conventional existence encompasses various subcategories, but will focus on true existence. What constitutes true existence? It's defined as abiding in one's own Svabhāva. If a Dharma possesses Svabhāva, it's considered truly existent. Since Svabhāva is synonymous with Dharma-Self, and we've established that the concept of Dharma-Self is derived from the analysis of the person self, it should logically fulfill the same 2 conditions. First, this Dharma-Self must be permanent and unchanging, eternally consistent. Second, it must be active and capable, governing and supporting the functioning of the Dharma. Let's see if this holds true. Material 9, again from Zhuangzang's translation of the Abhidharma-Mahavibhāka, states, furthermore, the terms scattering, destruction, breaking, disappearance, perishing, and decline do not indicate the annihilation of the Svabhāva of Dharmas. They merely indicate the cessation of their functions due to impermanence. The Svabhāva of conditioned Dharmas is eternally existent. Due to the characteristic of arising, they possess functions. Due to the characteristic of ceasing, their functions cease. This is what is meant by scattering, destruction, etc. This passage explains the meaning of various terms related to change and impermanence. While the Sarvāstivāda School asserts the existence of Svabhāva, they acknowledge the impermanence of all conditioned dharmas. Why? Because the Buddha taught that all things are impermanent. So, why do these dharmas undergo change, scattering, destruction, and so on? It's not because their Svabhāva is destroyed. It's because their functions cease due to impermanence. The Svabhāva of conditioned dharmas is eternally existent. It existed in the past, exists in the present, and will exist in the future. When a dharma manifests its functions, we say it has arisen. When its functions cease, we say it has ceased. But the dharma itself, its essence, remains. Let's move on to material 10. All dharmas already possess Svabhāva, inherently abiding in their own nature. Because they already have an essence, they are said to have arisen. They do not arise from causes and conditions. It is the combination of causes and conditions that is called arising. This passage addresses the question of whether things arise because they already exist or because they didn't exist before. The answer is that they rise because they already exist. Why? Because their essence, their Svabhāva, is eternally present. Although the essence already exists, it lacks function. Upon encountering causes and conditions, it manifests its function. Question: is the function identical to the essence or different from it? Answer: it cannot be definitively stated as either identical or different. Here, the Sarvāstivāda School seems to be evading a clear answer. They claim that the essence is always present, while the function is not. When we observe the manifestation of a function, we assume the Dharma has arisen, but it was already there, just not yet manifest. As for the relationship between essence and function, they remain ambiguous. Nevertheless, they at least offer a theoretical framework. Let's look at material 11. The causal and resultant natures of dharmas throughout the 3 times are established in their proper order. Their essence is eternally existent, neither increasing nor decreasing. It is only in terms of their functions that we speak of existence and non-existence. This passage clearly articulates the Sarvāstivāda view. They believe they have effectively resolved a crucial dilemma. For a dharma to exist, it must have an essence, a Dharma-Self. This Dharma-Self is eternally present. But how can this Dharma engage in activity, manifest its functions, if its essence is unchanging? They answer by stating that Svabhāva and function are neither identical nor different. Svabhāva is permanent, while function is impermanent. Problem solved. We perceive things because they exist, and our perception is not mistaken. Our cognitive bias, our tendency to identify things, is not inherently flawed. However, these things also possess functions, so we can attribute change and activity to them, to their inherent essence. This theory of an eternally existing essence, present throughout the 3 times past, present, and future, is the basis for the school's name, Sarvāstivāda, the theory that everything exists. They believe this view is clear and logical. Svabhāva and function are interconnected, but distinct. Function is the function of Svabhāva, and Svabhāva is the Svabhāva of function. It's important to note that the Sarvāstivāda Svabhāva is not an unknowable entity beyond our comprehension. It's something we can perceive. Material 12, from a later Sarvāstivāda text called the Abhidharma-Narvastra, translated by Zhuangzheng, illustrates this point. Abhidharma-Narvastra, translated by Zhuangzheng. The rising of consciousness in response to an object is the characteristic of true existence. There are 2 types of true existence, actual existence and conventional existence, established based on conventional and ultimate truths. What constitutes true existence? There are 2 types, but both share a common criterion, the rising of consciousness in response to an object. In other words, if we perceive an object, it exists. It's an existence that's experienced through our senses. If consciousness arises without dependence on anything, it is the characteristic of actual existence, such as form, feeling, etc. If consciousness arises with dependence on something, it is the characteristic of conventional existence, such as parts, armies, etc. If our perception of an object's existence is dependent on certain conditions, it's a conventional existence, or worldly truth. But if our perception of an object's existence is absolute, not contingent on any conditions, it's an actual existence, an ultimate truth. Regardless of the specific theory, the point is that Svabhāva and existence are experienced through our senses. They are things we perceive. Now, from our perspective within the Mahayana Buddhist discourse, we often hear criticisms of the Sarvāstivāda view. Critics argue that it's absurd and foolish to posit an unchanging essence when we clearly observe the impermanence and change of all phenomena. This criticism has some merit. However, those who make this critique often go on to say that things exist precisely as impermanent, changing entities. This is where they fall into a deeper misunderstanding. Why? Because to claim that things exist while simultaneously undergoing change is to miss the fundamental principle of existence. Who or what is the existent? Without identifying the existent, without pinpointing the unchanging identity, the subject behind the phenomena, what are we even talking about when we say existence? Setting aside the debate of who's right or wrong, the Sarvāstivāda system is at least clear and consistent. If we accept that things exist in the world, then there's only one path, to find their Svabhāva. If Svabhāva is found, then the thing truly exists. If not, it doesn't. Whether this view is ultimately correct or not is a separate discussion, but it's not illogical. It's a coherent system. However, if we, as Mahayana Buddhists, claim that all dharmas lack Svabhāva and exist as impermanent, changing forms without inherent essence, we're not only mistaken, but also incoherent. Our thinking becomes muddled. We lose sight of what existence even means. The Sarvāstivāda view was highly influential throughout history. It's a compelling system. especially because its theory of essence and function aligns well with our everyday experience. It provides an explanation for how we perceive the world. Within this framework, the person doesn't exist. There's no person self, but dharmas do exist because they possess a Dharma-Self. The mechanism of cause and effect, the 12 links of dependent origination, are grounded in this Dharma-Self. Therefore, we cannot act recklessly. We must abide by the laws of karma. Why? Because karma, these causal links, are real, they exist. If we violate these laws, we face consequences. We perpetuate a vicious cycle of negative karma. This system also establishes a karmic ethic, guiding us towards the path of practice, encouraging us to relinquish attachment to the self and attain liberation through the realization of no self. It's a remarkably comprehensive and well-structured system. However, the Sarvāstivāda theory does have its flaws.